First of all, congratulations on being inducted into the ICC Cricket Hall of Fame.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for making the time to speak with us this afternoon. How does it feel?
Feels a bit unreal, actually. I mean, I've seen others getting inducted, and I was so pleased. And it's never the case. We don't know how everything pans out, but like when the announcement came and when I got to know, it was quite pleasing. And then the overwhelming reaction from everyone back home. Yeah, it's been something special.
Looking back, if you have to think of one moment that sort of captures your playing career in cricket and of course your now coaching career, what would that be?
Well, it's very difficult to probably say one moment, but I think the first time I was called up to represent my country, I think that's probably the most proudest moment for me. Growing up, wanting to play for your country, and then you get your call up, and you know that you've been given your cap, and you walk in with the rest of the guys representing your country. I think that's probably be my highlight. Yeah, I mean, that was something really special.
Okay, now we have some questions over Zoom. I'm going to begin with Rex Clementine from Sri Lanka.
Mahela, you've been part of Sri Lanka's campaign in this World Cup. Obviously, they finished with 5 victories in 8 games. How do you sort of sum up the team's performance in this tournament?
Yeah, it was quite encouraging, Rex. To be honest, I mean, I went into that dressing room after 6-7 years since I retired. That was my first, interaction with the current national group. There's a lot of talent in there, and a lot of natural talent, and it's just something that we as Sri Lankans are always blessed with. I understand the frustrations with the last few years, the inconsistency, but I think with this young group, when their mindset is right and the attitude is right and they're committed to execution, I think we saw what they're capable of. They came pretty close, challenging England and that South African game. I think those were 2 games that Sri Lanka probably with a bit more experience would have been able to get over the line and probably be in a semi-final situation. But given that how the tournament started for them and whatever happened leading up to that 6 months or 8 months prior to that, I think we can be very optimistic that this young group can evolve and develop and be more consistent at world stage.
Thank you. I'm just checking Niharika.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jayawardene. Congratulations on making it to the Hall of Fame. My question for you is that Sri Lanka in this World Cup did pretty well, and on some occasions, like you pointed out, that they missed out on. So what does Sri Lanka need to do more in order to gain more consistency in results in big events like this? And my second part would be that today is the final of the T20 World Cup in Dubai. Whom are you backing to win the tournament?
All right. The first question, I think going forward with Sri Lanka, I think we still have to focus more on our domestic cricket structure, in the sense that we need to develop the younger generation much quicker, get them that exposure that they require to compete at the highest level. And at the same time, we need to encourage the group of players to play the brand of cricket that we're renowned for, and be very positive in execution. So I think the skill level is good. It's just the attitude, the mindset, the game awareness. These are areas that Sri Lanka needs to improve going forward. And more and more games they play, they will learn. I think that's how we all learned as well throughout our career. So I'm pretty confident that they'll do the same. To your second question, it's a bit of a tough one, but I think a little bit of momentum is probably with Australia. They have that firepower in how they wanted to execute, and they showed that against Pakistan. New Zealand's always going to be a force to reckon with on a day that they have that character. So it's going to be a good final. But if you want to put me on the spotlight, I would say my brain would say it's Australia, but my heart would say New Zealand.
Fantastic. Rex again with another question.
Mahela, just about the LPL draft, and there were some issues with certain players being not included. How do you sort of see the whole thing? You raised a few questions as well. It's been 72 hours since you raised those questions. How do you sort of look at the status quo?
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit disappointed when I saw the overall draft. I mean, with someone who's involved with player drafts and auctions in different franchises, I know how you pick your players, the skeleton, the combinations. So I was a bit baffled with some of those picks. I mean, that's why I openly made a comment. And the other thing, Rex, for me was that you'd need your senior players, like experienced players in your domestic leagues, as long as they're fit and are playing good cricket, because that's the only way the next generation will learn as well. So you need to create that competitive environment. And LPL, this is the second season. The first year had issues, but we had a very good tournament, and we saw a lot of the younger guys who are now in the current setup actually came through that. So the LPL is going to be a huge platform for, especially for white ball cricket going forward in Sri Lanka. So it's important that we get everything right. We have the right governance, right mechanism in place, so that the ultimate goal is to produce good cricketers for Sri Lanka, experienced cricketers. So I think that's where I will always stand, and hopefully those changes will be made going forward, and that we get a good product where would be a great stepping stone for our younger generation to come through and showcase their talent and be brilliant cricketers for Sri Lanka and for the world to see.
Thank you, Mahela. You spoke earlier about the young talent that you saw at the T20 World Cup from Sri Lanka. Is there, I know as a mentor, you spend a bit of time in the dressing room with this team. Is there anybody specific that you want to discuss, or is that too much to ask at this point, given your role?
No, I think it just, I only spent 10 days and during this World Cup, we saw a couple of the young batsmen playing their first World Cups, perform extremely well. One was Charita Salanka, probably a different role that he had to play batting at number 3, and Pathum Nissanka, and these are two young cricketers who stood tall with the bat and played some very good cricket. Everyone's raving about Wanindu Hasaranga, and we saw what a good competitor he is at world stage, and he performed well. He didn't take the pressure in a bad way. He controlled that pretty well and executed brilliantly. So Dushmantha Chamira is another asset that Sri Lanka has, a guy who bowls rapid and has that control. So there's a lot of good elements that Sri Lanka can fall back to, knowing that all these guys are in their early 20s and they will develop into brilliant cricketers as long as we have the setup, the environment for them to flourish. So, and there's a lot of other younger guys who's hovering around and waiting for those opportunities. So it's exciting times as long as we have the correct structure and the path for them to go out and play cricket, enjoy their cricket, and express themselves.
Absolutely, and for somebody who's seen that team a few times at Sharjah, I would vouch for their talent, and it was just amazing to see, even witness the first Super 12 hat trick from Hasaranga as well. I see Rex has a question. Rex, go ahead again.
Mahela on Wanindu Asaranga is currently was number one ranked bowler in T20 cricket. It's been a while since Sri Lanka had a number one ranked bowler in T20s. What's the X factor about him? What does make him special?
Well, I think it just he is not too complicated. I think he doesn't go away from his strength. He's got a slightly unique action, slightly lower trajectory. He controls that pretty well. Pace and the lines that he's bowling, it's all on the execution, Rex, and he's pretty confident. And then the other thing is he's got a good head as well to understand what the batsman's trying to do, analyze and tactically be aware of certain situations. And we saw that pretty well in this tournament. I mean, it's not easy for a spinner to bowl, especially in Sharjah, even though the wicket was helpful, but still it's a small ground. And wanted the ball pretty well, except for one game. And the other thing, what we've seen is his batting skills and the talent that he's got. He can only improve from where he is right now and put a bit more effort into that. He can be a very, very good all-rounder. So not just that, he tops the bowling rankings. Hopefully, we should try and push him to be probably in that top 5 all-rounders in world cricket in the next 12 months. I mean, that would be a great challenge for him to put on himself and try and, improve and get to that position.
Thank you, Mahela. I'm just checking if there are any further questions. Questions in Sinhalese is also welcome. Danushka?
Mahela, දැන් ඔබ තමයි තුන්වන ශ්‍රී ලාංකිකයා බවට පත් වෙන්නේ මේ වගේ විශිෂ්ට තත්ත්වයක් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට උදා කර දීමට සම්බන්ධයෙන් ප්‍රේක්ෂකයෝ ඉතාමත්ම ඉහළ ප්‍රතිචාරයක් දක්වලා තිබුණා. ඒ අයට මොකද්ද කියන්න තියෙන්නේ ඔබට මේ අවස්ථාවේදී සුබ පැතුම් එක් කිරීම ගැන?
මම ගොඩක් ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. මම ඊයේ දැක්ක ගොඩක් ප්‍රේක්ෂකයෝ මගේ Twitter හරහා අනිත් මාධ්‍යයන් තුලිනුත් දක්වලා තිබ්බ විචාරයන් ගැන මම ඒ ගැන ගොඩක් සතුටු වුණා. මම Twitter පණිවිඩයකුත් නිකුත් කරා. ඉතින් මම හැමදාම කියපු දේ තමයි අපි ප්‍රේක්ෂකයෝ හින්දා තමයි අපි මේ තත්ත්වයට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. මොකද ඔවුන් අපේ පිටිපස්සේ දිගටම හිටියා ඒ වකවානුවේ. ඉතින් උන්ට ගොඩාක්ම ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. මොකද මේ හැම දෙයක්ම ලැබෙන්නේ ඒ උන්ගේ දායකත්වයත් එක්ක. ඉතින් මේක ඉතාමත් වැදගත්.
Premium content සහ අද්විතීය වරප්‍රසාද සඳහා ඔබත් අදම thepapare.com subscribe කරන්න.
Stay on the ball with the Papare Sports News Alerts. Don't miss out on everything that happens in the world of sport. Type the Papare and send to 678 to register. ₹30 per month. Conditions apply.